Welcome to There Can Be Only One Podcast, the Highlander podcast, called that because there's only one podcast like ours. Trust me, I checked. I'm Caleb.
I'm Brit.
Hi, I'm Seth. Caleb has kidnapped me for another fucking podcast.
So if y'all are familiar with the shows that we do here on the channel, y'all are used to seeing Seth, and y'all are used to seeing Brit on the D&D side of things, but now we've shanghaied her into a podcast.
We did.
But
She
because
came willingly.
Did I?
I
because this is the first episode of the show, I kind of want to give the audience, kind of what we're going to be doing on the show, as well as what got us into Highlander. I'm pretty sure I have the most active history with the franchise, while Seth might beat me passively. Funny enough, Star Wars is what got me into Highlander. Back in 2011, 2012, my final year of high school, I was deep in the Star Wars fan film side of things. Found an old website that tried to aggregate all the bigger projects together to make them more accessible to fans to find. Well, on the main page, there was a music video that somebody put together showing off some of the more memorable fan films, and the song was a Queen song called Pretty Sure I Can't Play for Copyright Reasons, so if it's not in the final edit, I had to remove it. Sorry. Being who I am, though, I went into a deep dive for that song as I learned it was tied to a film called Highlander. And by the end of my senior year, I had watched everything Highlander. I'd watched all the movies, all the shows. And since then, I've put Highlander in my top 3 favorite franchises, along with Star Wars and Scream. In fact, so it had to be 2011 because I had not graduated high school yet when I got the TV show McLeod Katana, because I got that for Christmas that year. But yeah, this is officially me getting to have the last of my favorites into a proper content format on the channel, because we have the Star Wars podcast, obviously. And I've done my first Scream video essay, and so now we get to talk Highlander finally, because this is a podcast Seth and I have joked about for a while, and we'll get into how the podcast came to be in a bit. But first, I kind of want to get both of you to have a chance to share your stories for becoming Highlander fans, and I know that I'm a part of that, but obviously, whatever else you want to share in regards to how that kind of came to be. Whoever wants to go first.
I was gonna say, becoming a fan is still kind of actively happening. Like, I like the show a lot more than anything else so far.
Yeah, because so far you have seen, and we'll get to rewatch them as part of the show, but you've seen the first and third movie, and then almost all of the original TV show. We're on the last season. Yeah, we're on the last season now for that. So the only things you haven't seen are Highlander 2, Seth's favorite, supposedly, uh, and the other, and the Raven spinoff, and the animated series, and the films after the TV show. So
shows are ultimately easier for me to get into anyway, just because it's long form and you get more character time.
yeah. And we'll definitely, when we get to the movie, we'll talk about like why I think actually we'll talk about it later in this episode, because it's going to tie into our main topic today, since we're going to be talking about the remake. And I think what they're doing with the remake is going to fix some of what I think are problems with the original, which I still love the original. It got me into everything else, but I don't think it always works on everybody that I introduce it to, because I think a lot of people are like on on the first movie, and then enjoy the first episode of the show a lot more, and then by like the third episode are kind of in.
I mean, I'm also kind of weird when it comes to movies because it's harder for me to get into something so short form that has a lot of shit that it's got to explain in the short time. So I think that's why shows are easier because you get this long form, like, here's the character in multiple situations. And so I feel like I get to know them more than just knowing them off of a 2 hour
Hmm.
set like movie.
Yeah. So I guess yeah. I mean, so I guess we'll talk about Seth's introduction because it ties into your introduction a little bit to the franchise, and we'll loop back, I guess, and that kind of will lead into how the show came to be. But yeah, Seth. I mean, I guess I want to say when I allude because I know you're gonna say that I introduced you to it, but that's not entirely true because that's the
No, it's not entirely true at all.
yeah, like, and that's why I said like I actively have the longer history of being a fan of the franchise, while yours is more passive because you knew about the film, but you didn't get into it until I properly brought you
Yeah.
in.
So apparently, this film is one that's like really important to my family, and I didn't know that for a long time. I had seen the ending of the first movie. However, spoiler alert for a film that came out in what year, Caleb?
1986.
In 1986, so
So 30
30
years.
years
Yeah, it's
ago.
30 years. It's now the
Uh,
30th anniversary for that film. Yeah.
I
I
was
think
not even a thought at that time.
neither. I
Oh,
don't
sorry,
think any
sorry.
of us
My
were.
brain's wrong. 40. Sorry. I'm 32, so it's 10 years. Yeah, so sorry, 40 anniversary.
So,
It's even worse.
so apparently, Grandpa really liked that film. So did Grandma. So did Mom. What I knew about that film is there was a sick ass sword fight at the end of it, and a guy's head got cut off, and a bunch of demons exploded out of him.
I mean, that's
I
not
was like
inaccurate.
8 when I was 8 when I saw it, and apparently I just forgot about that.
And then I was like, "Hey, you want to watch this movie with me one day?" Like, because at that time I was getting you into a bunch of things I was into. Like, I got you into Scream a little bit.
I think Scream
Not as
was the more
much.
successful one out of the first one to succeed.
Hmm. And then I was like, "Hey, let's check out Highlander," and I showed it to you, and you were like, "Wait, I've seen this before."
Yeah. To the point of where I remember us having to call up my mom. I was like, "Hey, mom, when I was young, did you show me Highlander?" And she's like, "Yeah, you watched it with like your grandparents." And I was like, "Are you sure that was a good decision?"
Yeah, a movie with heads being decapitated, a sex
You know
scene,
what?
like a full on, like, because we're talking about the '80s. It's a full on sex scene. Like, it's not just
Hmm.
like, it's a what? It's a good 2-3 minute sex scene.
I think they'd probably send me out of the room for that. Come to think of it, that might be why I didn't remember that part. But the demon explosion, I fucking remember that.
Uh, but yeah, and so yeah, so we got into it. So yeah, you and I got into it that way,
Mhm.
and now that we
Eventually,
knew, yeah, go ahead.
eventually, you were like, "We should watch the show," and I was like, "All right, I guess." I mean, nothing better to do.
Yeah,
And I would run like D&D games over at the house, like beforehand or after when we were like, well, not enough people were here today.
and plus there would be days I would just come over to the house anyways, to your
Yeah.
place, just to hang out, whether it was D&D or just hanging out.
Mhm. Then then we were I forget if you showed me the show first or the second movie. I think it took some convincing for you to show me the absolute masterpiece
It was
that is Highlander 2.
We watched Highlander 2 first because at that time I was showing you in release order. Although this show will be in the format of chronological. But I was showing you release order, and so we watched 2, and then you liked it more than most people. And by most people, I mean everybody.
Well, most people are wrong.
And then what? It takes
What a
place in the
bold
far.
statement to be making on episode 1. That's a bold stance to
I,
be digging your feet down
I can
in.
already see the Highlander Reddit page hating you or really loving you because I've seen them making a lot of jokes about Highlander 2 recently. Because I was talking to Brit about something I saw on the Reddit forums, and they
Yeah, but that
decided
one made sense.
that no. So apparently, I'll go into this real quick.
Mhm.
Um, I was scrolling Reddit more to find stuff about the remake, but like my phone will alert me now whenever somebody posts on Highlander Reddit because I look at Highlander Reddit enough that Reddit's just like, oh, you like Highlander? Here you go. Um,
I've looked at subreddits once and suddenly they're constantly giving me stuff. I'm like, I accidentally clicked on you one time. I do not want to see this.
Um, but yeah, so on one of these posts, it was somebody apparently was trying to explain the magic of the Immortals and was like, using stuff from the TV show, it means that the Immortals are both angels and demons, and that's why they're fighting forever because it's the Holy War essentially. And then whoever wins becomes either the reincarnation of Jesus or the Antichrist, and that was there. And then immediately in the chat beneath it was people being like, "No, I think they're from the planet Zeist," which will make more sense once we've watched Highlander 2. I don't know if we'll watch that version of Highlander 2 or the one where they're from the far distant past. Basically, it's either aliens or from an even further past that were sent to
I
the
feel
future.
like you're gonna show both.
Yeah, we'll probably have to watch both. They're both bad. They don't. There's not much plot wise that changes beyond that specific thing. Because getting
Well,
back to yeah, go ahead.
I, c- I can't give a plot summary of Highlander 2 in the first episode. We gotta get through this.
Okay, yeah. Uh, so going back to kind of like both an introduction and how the show was made. So because I would go to your house and we would watch the TV show, we would generally watch like maybe 1 to 2 episodes a week, maybe more
Mhm.
depending how much time we were hanging out. Because I was
Yeah.
also trying to get you into Always Sunny. That kind
Yeah.
of worked.
I'd say,
Uh,
like, if I have my, like, choice, it's Scream, Highlander, Always Sunny.
but yeah, so we would watch Highlander like a couple episodes, and so we started making drinking game because we were like, there's a lot of things that happen in this show like frequently,
Mhm.
and so we created a drinking game that had 12 rules at the time. First was whenever Connor and Duncan introduced themselves as Connor, Duncan MacLeod from the Clan MacLeod, not including the TV intro because TV intro would be like
Doesn't count.
yeah, it
We're
doesn't
not
count.
trying to kill them.
The second one was any immortal is decapitated. The third is a mentor character self-sacrifices. We haven't had to run into that one too much actually, since the first
No.
movie. Um, the next is any shit talking on holy ground. That one has happened more often than I thought it would because I was like,
That one's
oh, that.
happened quite a bit.
I was like, that's gonna be more of a movies thing. But then the show started doing it more often,
Oh
and I was like,
no. They are constantly shit talking on holy ground.
and then anytime Who Wants to Live Forever is played inappropriately, that's more me being mad at the fact that in the first movie, the sex scene plays an instrumental version of Who Wants to Live Forever, which in the context of what that song is about is wild to do. Considering that song is about Connor's first wife dying and him being like, man, it sucks living forever because everybody you love dies in front of you. Um, then we got any flashback starting. That one is gonna kill us probably.
That one's
That
gonna
one,
absolutely. I'm gonna be in the toilet halfway into that.
that one,
Probably
that,
not even.
that one
Um,
will be the killer.
You're gonna have to like tell me when the actual drinking goes on because I need to be ready for that.
yeah.
Because fun fact for everyone else, I don't drink really, so
Well, we'll probably start next episode. But what we're gonna do is for that, and I'll explain once I get through the rules. I'll explain how we're gonna operate the show on a case by case. Um, the next rule was anytime Richie is cock blocked by Tessa or Duncan, which started off strong, kind of stops becoming a thing.
Yeah, it seemed more anything that Richie himself got cock blocked more than anything.
Well,
He'd
that's what
find
I'm
out
saying.
the woman he was with is like
That's what I'm saying.
fucking
Him getting cock blocked by Tessa or Duncan. Although
yeah.
some like that was the rule was like they have to actively be the reason he gets.
But that's
But
kind of that's a
it
hard
kind of
one.
like I'd say around season 2 it stops being as relevant of a rule. Um, the next one was
Fuck up.
next one was I was being careful not to talk about other stuff.
I know it's the way you said it though that I'm like that.
I said season
that's
2.
an understatement.
I said season 2 it stops kind of being
No, I
relevant.
know. Yes, I know. I know. That's what I'm.
The
Keep
next
going.
yeah, next rule is any non-immortal death, not including watchers. So for some reason, my death count on these shots don't. The watchers are the only ones that aren't included when somebody dies, because immortal decapitations and non-immortal deaths accept watchers.
Why did you like write off the Watchers?
I don't know. I actually, if anything, it should be watcher deaths, and then
Should
we
be
just
the
ignore,
Watchers.
and
Yeah.
then we just ignore anybody else that's not involved with the game.
That one makes more sense.
Oh well, the
I
rule's
don't
been
know.
established for
Keep
like
it whatever you're fucking.
yeah, it's been
at this
it's been
point.
established for like 4 years now. I think we're too late. uh, any quickening, so we're basically double shotting when an immortal gets decapitated.
Dude. Yeah, that's. Hmm.
Well, that's not entirely true. There are instances, but anyways, the 10th one, cops or reporters questioning McLeod being involved in another crime. Then the 11th one was guest star for the TV show as a musician, because that happens pretty frequently. And then the last rule at the time was immortal confrontation occurs by a waterway, because the first movie kinda we won't count the water tower, but the TV show almost every other episode is they're fighting next to a waterway of some sort, a river, a lake, whatever. Mainly because the show takes place in a fictional city that's basically the Pacific Northwest. But then we got Brit into the show.
Then you got me involved.
Because at first it was going to be Seth, me, and then one of our buddies. Because he kind of got into it. He didn't come up with any of the rules though, but he got into it, and then we kind of stopped seeing him as often. And so that kind of fell apart. And then we were already doing. The three of us were starting to do more frequent movie nights here on the Discord server side. And
I'm the token female.
oh no. I'm gonna get canceled.
Those allegations.
But because we would, take turns watching stuff, eventually I was like, you know what? Let's restart Highlander for the sake of having Brit involved with watching it. And so we restarted watching it, this time in chronological order. And it was like halfway through season... No, it was season 2. It was season 2, because that villain's introduced in season 2. There's a moment where a villain is introduced. And Brit's like, this is like the third time this has happened. We need a rule for when a villain steps menacingly into frame.
Oh my gosh, there are so many of them that just want to slide into frame all.
And it even goes as far back as the first. It goes back as far as the first movie, because Kurgan does that a couple times, and because they're like one of them is popping more into frame than stepping into frame, but it's still I'm still gonna count that when he does the little head pop
entering into the frame with the fucking like villain ass look. It doesn't matter what the look is. There's this villain vibe when they step into the frame.
Well, that specific one I'm thinking of is more of a jump scare moment with Kurgan, where he pops in and then he tries to attack. Once again, when we get to that episode, we'll we'll dive further into that. But yeah, and so because you made that rule, I jokingly said, "Oh, that means you're part of the podcast now," and then that kind of stuck, and now here we are. It only took us what 4 years from initially having the idea, and then 2 years from getting Brit involved in it.
This has been the longest con you have ever pulled.
Um, but yeah, now that we've kind of established how this came to be and the drinking game rules, so kind of my idea for this podcast comes from my enjoyment of riff tracks, Mystery Science Theater 3000, and our drinking game. So why not combine the three ideas, right? Because riff tracks and Mystery Science Theater are pretty much the same thing. It's just how they do it. It's one is they show you the movie, and then the other is they legally can't show you the movie, so you have to sync it up yourself. Uh, and that's kind of going to be a good chunk of how the podcast will be formatted. Uh, when we're talking about a book or comic, though, because there are plenty of those to read, actually, surprisingly, the show will be closer to how we do things on Escape Reality Star Wars Talk, where I just kind of run a plot synopsis. The main difference being that while I'm reading the plot synopsis for that topic, I will also call out when something happens in the story that hits one of our drinking game rules, and we'll take our shot. So I think for like next week's topic, like the rules that we can easily like not have to worry about. Um, Anything that relies on visuals, so obviously we won't see a villain step menacingly into frame. I
Mhm.
don't that I feel like that would be hard to convey in a book, because our first actual topic will be a book. Um, can't have a guest star that's a musician. Um,
You think?
I don't think I don't think there's any cops or reporters actually involved because of when the book takes place.
I'll say this: having read the first chapter of the book, not yet.
Yeah. Richie and Tessa are not involved because the book takes place before they would have been born.
Hmm.
Obviously, I won't have to worry about hearing "Who Wants to Live Forever" during a sex scene because there is no music to go with it. The rest of those could feasibly happen, though. I don't see mentor. Well, I also don't see any mentor character self-sacrifices just because of who the book is about. Because it's Duncan, Amanda, and our favorite. I want to dress up every episode, and that's why I'm only in the episodes where there's
Oh my
flashbacks.
gosh.
Fitzkern's in it, and
To be
then
fair, he's got the good episodes because of that.
and then
If you
I
see
do
his name in there, you're like, this is gonna be a banger episode.
yeah.
Because they just don't care.
And then also there's a character that's in one of those flashback episodes that Seth didn't get to watch with us, so he has no context of that character. It's the Double
I,
Eagle. It's the saloon episode
yeah.
where
You guys
Amanda
told me-
where Amanda
you guys explained the episode to me.
yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of the gonna be the premise. Um, Anytime we do a movie or show, then we break out the riff tracks format where I'll need you all at home to sync the movie or show with us. We'll do like a 1, 2, 3 thing to let y'all know when to hit play, and then I think in the edit side of things, I'll also try to do what riff tracks does, which is they usually will every now and then give a line of dialogue at the same time as that line is going on, and so that way you can like perfectly go on your end, make sure it's still synced up
Mm.
for those watching at home. And then I'll give like a special edit for Patreon members. But then, yeah, we'll make jokes and play the drinking game whenever movie or show episodes happen. Um, I'll also be there to call out any trivia or lore connections that could be interesting, but also aren't spoilers for whatever point we're at on the timeline of our watching. bring up something that happens in like, oh, in movie 4, even though we're on season 2 of the show, I'm not going to bring up that because, and then when we get to it, we'll get to it. Like if we once we hit movie 4, I'll be like, oh, this plot point that happened back here, da 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 da. But I won't go ahead of us, so I won't ruin anything we haven't touched on yet. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for like explaining the show and what we're going to be doing here. Um, it's pretty much just for us to have fun and talk about a franchise that we're all kind of getting into, or have been into in my case. Uh, but yeah, beyond that, I kind of wanted to get a chance to sit down and talk with you guys about the fact that they're making a complete remake of the first film with the hopes that it'll reboot the franchise from the looks of it. And I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the fun set photos and casting decisions that we've gotten so far and kind of where we are like theorizing of what could happen, any changes we think they're going to implement, anything that like from what we've heard seems interesting and maybe could lead to future ideas. I know when Brit and I were watching actually Highlander this last Thursday, I kind of popped an idea in my head that I said out loud, and I'm like, oh, they're probably going to do that. Um, and I'll bring that up right now, actually, before we start looking at photos. They're absolutely going to make a show for Amazon Prime. Right? I'm not crazy for thinking that.
If the movie does well, probably.
Right? Yeah. Like the movie has to do well. I think that is the one. Like it has to do well, and the reason it's Prime specifically, Seth, because I mentioned HBO at first, and I was like, wait, but the people who are making the movie are Amazon, because it's Lionsgate through Amazon, and there's some concern that the movie will get only a digital, like an online release, which I am concerned about. I hope it actually goes to theaters. Um, but because of that, I was like, oh, well, if we get a show, it's going to be on Prime, and that's going to actually be kind of awesome, actually, if they do it. Um, your thoughts on that, Seth? Any likely feasibility towards that you think?
I think like I'm kind of agreeing with Brit on the like if it does well.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking that into account. It's definitely the movie has to do well, which so far, at the very least, from what I've seen on the Reddit, at the very least, the hardcore fans are liking what they see so far. Like so that's at least you've got the old school, you got the old heads, right? I think that's the first step you got to do for this remake. Um
I do like who they have cast as like our
yes, I think the whole cast is perfect actually. And you know what? We can start there instead of set photos. We can start with the casting. Um the first things that so I've been following the journey of this remake since it was announced in like 2016. Just to give a journey of where this remake has been initially, and I think I'm already hearing the boos from you guys as soon as I say who they were initially gonna have as McLeod. It was originally gonna be Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, and at the time I was like, I could see it, and this was at the time when Deadpool
So
had just
hold
come
on.
out.
I have a question. This is a Seth doesn't pay much attention to what celebrities are doing.
He's
Is this a
Deadpool.
case of overexposure or like uh
Yeah, I think it's overexposure now, as well as some
okay.
other stuff, as well as some other things that are going on
Also, who's
behind.
married to, but
Yeah, that's and I think that's a complicated situation because I definitely think she's in the right on a certain situation going on, but she's also not in the right on other things, if that makes sense. But that's a whole other that's a different podcast that we don't have on the channel.
which is such a problem for me being someone who actually enjoyed a simple a simple favor.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so this was when Ryan Reynolds was still you know, kind of the talk of town because like 20 yeah, it was 2016 like and so Deadpool had just come out. And even before that movie came out, people were already kind of liking Ryan Reynolds because like he had been kind of set up to be Deadpool even before then because of the Wolverine movie. But yeah, so he was initially set up to be McCloud. But along with that, the one casting choice that I was surprised stuck was Dave Bautista as the Kurgan. That was also in the initial plan from the start. Um, and then,
So,
yeah.
I think it's gonna be great to see Batista in a villain role after like his recent.
Yeah, I think, well, because I think I need to still watch it, but there's the one M. Night Shyamalan film with him that I still need to watch, and I've heard that's a pretty terrifying role. Um, he's good in Blade Runner 2049. Um, I'm hoping. The thing is, though, I would hope to see him more because Dave Batista is one of the wrestling. He's just an actor at this point. He's a wrestler who became a really good actor, and
Hmm.
I think he's proven that he does have range. And I would like to see him get a character that he can really, sink his teeth into. And I think a proper remake like this gives a chance to flesh out the Kurgan a little more as a character. Because at the same time, keep Kurgan very simple, bad. Don't try to make the Kurgan sympathetic. Keep him a villain,
Yeah, just let him be bad for the sake of being bad.
but give a little more to it, if that makes sense. Like, give us a little more. I would like to see more flashbacks with the Kurgan, if that. But yeah, don't make it sympathetic. Don't be like, oh, he was a kid whose dad, hit him. Don't give us that.
No, I
Just
don't
make
think
it.
that works. I don't think that works well for the Kurgan.
Yeah, like just make the Kurgan evil. And I think they will. I don't think because Henry Cavill, who they have as McLeod officially now that because they eventually like what around the time we started actually talking about doing the podcast was when they were like, oh yeah, this project's still happening. Um, so like 4 years ago, they were like, yeah, this is still happening. Henry Cavill just got done like leaving The Witcher because what happened with The Witcher and all that chaos. Um, and so they were like, yeah, we're gonna get him for that. Um, and then they also announced a director finally, and they gave us Chad Stileski, who did the John Wick films, which I think was the best choice for this. Um, Mainly because Chad Stileski, before he directed John Wick, was already a like action like he was a stunt coordinator and specifically like would coordinate like fight scenes and stuff, right? And that's why the John Wick films, when you watch them, they focus a lot heavily on like the fights and why the fights look so good. Um, which there is a connection to Highlander and John Wick before all that, thanks to John Wick 4, uh, with Donnie Yen, but which I made a joke to Seth when Chapter 4 came out, and that was when about the time we learned that Chad was going to direct. I was like, oh, it makes sense he's directing because he put Donnie in it, and I realized, oh, John Wick kind of operates on similar rules as like Highlander rules for combat. But uh, I'm really excited about Henry Cavill. Obviously, I think that's the big draw that everybody's kind of excited for with this
Hmm.
movie. Um,
I don't even
just
necessarily like it just because it's him. I like it because he usually doesn't take roles that he doesn't feel like he can do. I don't know.
right, like he picks stuff that he knows one that he's usually a fan of too,
Hmm.
because he's also doing the Warhammer project right now,
Yeah.
which a lot of people thought, oh well, they're gonna wait to do Highlander until Warhammer's done. Nope, they've been hardcore. I think filming's pretty much almost done for Highlander at this point. I think my guess is we'll probably get it mid to late next year would be my guess if they keep on schedule with filming. Like if nothing goes wrong, knock on wood. Um, But he's already talked about in interviews because they did a big interview last year because they announced like, hey, we're going to start filming soon, and so they did a big interview about it. And he was talking about how he grew up watching the show with his brothers,
Mm.
and it was very funny because one of his brothers looks like Duncan, which has made me speculate whether or not the McLeod we're getting in the remake is Connor or Duncan. But I know the film purists will want to keep it as Connor. But if you look at the IMDb posting, it just says McLeod. It doesn't say Connor or Duncan.
That would be an interesting change to make, though, I feel like.
Yeah, and the only reason I would argue against myself, because I can argue against myself very easily, uh, is the fact that we have a Brenda and Heather in the film. And I don't think they would give Duncan a. I don't think they would have Duncan be married to Heather. Which I do like who they got for Heather. I will say that. Because it's Karen Gillan, Nebula from Guardians.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a pull. This is a wild cast, but
Yeah, this
I
is.
think it'll work.
Yeah. And then I hadn't seen who they got from Brenda in anything before. Well, she was in something I watched, but I didn't like. I'm gonna have to actively watch the thing. 'Cause she's like a background actor. She was in the Barbie movie as one of the like different types of Barbies. Um, so I would have to like rewatch. But she's done some other like short film projects. Like she recently did a Pride and Prejudice short film. Um, and so I might have to watch that before we watch the movie because we're definitely going to watch the movie when it comes out, and then whenever it comes to home video, that's when we'll do our proper episode on it. Um, so I'm interested to see how she does in a lead role, and then another big pull because this one was kind of the third piece of news, casting news, because Heather and Brenda we only learned pretty recently. But one we knew a little bit further back was Russell Crowe playing Ramirez.
Sorry.
Hey, it's better than how I give the premise. So far, the casting is better than my normal premise for like how I like elevator pitch the first Highlander movie, which is a Frenchman playing a Scotsman, a Scotsman playing a Spaniard Egyptian, and a guy from Cleveland, Ohio playing a Russian.
No, I'm just because I'm remembering plot beats from the first film, right? I'm just thinking, are you not entertained, Kirkin?
Oh, that's gonna be so funny.
Uh,
That's gonna be heartbreaking. Oh, you know Russell Crowe's gonna put a lot into it though. He's a good performer,
yeah,
even in stuff that like, even in stuff that people aren't the biggest fans of him in, like with Les Mis, he still did his best. It's just a
Yeah.
case. It's just a case of you were miscast, and that's not on you. Um, some other ones that I thought were interesting to highlight. This is information specifically from an article that I got from Hollywood Reporter.
mm,
It's not from it's not listed on the IMDb, but Jeremy Irons is playing a Watcher, specifically the leader of the Watchers, from what I understand.
Hmm.
So I
so they're
think
bringing in the Watchers in
in the
the first
movie, yeah, in the first
movie.
movie, yeah,
Okay,
because in the
if you
interview,
had the chance
yeah,
to redo it, that makes sense.
exactly, because in the interview that because when they interviewed Henry, it was him and Chad, just so the director, and they were both talking about how like they really want to implement some of the ideas a little bit sooner, so that way they can like because the mistake that the first movie makes, right? The mistake
Yeah,
the first movie makes is that it is a single story.
yeah. I don't think they were operating under the assumption that they would get more.
Yeah, it definitely has a beginning, middle,
Hmm.
end, and then that's it, right? Which does work for a lot of movies in the 80s. Like, I think that is something that a lot of people find charming back then, and I think a lot of people kind of wish we could get now, which is just, hey, sometimes we just want a movie that's it. We don't need, 10 movies, right?
Yeah.
Um, But this time they are operating on the fact that yes, we do plan to franchise, which is why I also am leaning into if the movie does well, they're gonna do a show, even if it's like an 8 episode like mini like nowadays how you do TV, where it's like just eight
You're
episode big budget, right?
Yeah. For the audience who is listening to this in the future, Caleb does not like the modern television setup, and I don't blame him for it.
I miss the 20 episode seasons, okay? But I don't think there's anything wrong with a shorter format if you, and I do have theories of how you would do a show like that. It would be you set up a villain and you make them the main villain, but you still do the villain of a week thing that just happens to work for the bigger bad. Or you'd still do episodes that are, they kind of got rid of they got rid of smaller episodes. That's the bigger issue, is anything that's not directly tied into the main plot, they just cut and it's no longer an episode.
There's no filler anymore.
And filler's how you get to know a character, and that's kind of what I miss in modern television. Oh, the funniest casting. Drew McIntyre as Angus MacLeod. So they got wrestler Drew McIntyre for the flashbacks. Because Angus is the one in the original film. He's the cousin that tries to defend him a little bit when he gets exiled.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's technically the leader of the MacLeod clan at the time.
You know what? We can say this. I know it was like the, 1500s?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck the MacLeod's first girlfriends.
We'll get to that
They
when
are
the movie
so
happens,
bad
but
over-
yeah.
Like, there's a reason, once again to the audience, there's a reason why I'm mad at them.
Yeah. I like, for casting that we don't know what they're going to be at all, I like Jhamon Hansu is in this film. I'm curious. There's some theory.
I don't know who these.
He's in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's the when he's like, I'm Star-Lord, and he goes, who?
Okay.
Yeah, he's the guy that works for the bad guys. He's also in a few other things that I like. I think, let me double check myself before I say something wrong, because we have the internet in front of us. Yeah, he was in Blood Diamond back in 2006. Which I think that's a classic. He's the wizard in the Shazam movies. There was another one I thought. Yes, if you've ever seen the Black Panther TV show, he was Black Panther for that. It was a cartoon. I love he was really good as Black Panther. Other actors I'm interested in seeing, I'm curious what Kevin McKidd is playing. I like him. He is in the Rome HBO show, which is a show I know I need to at some point introduce you guys to. That's a show I know is on my list at some point, making y'all watch with me, along with the Spartacus show. But in Rome, he's really good. He's also on Grey's Anatomy. You probably see him on Grey's Anatomy stuff via from Tori and Kinsey. He's Dr. Owen Hunt.
Oh,
redhead.
really?
Yeah.
Via forced osmosis.
Bro, fuck the character. Owen Hunt sucks.
Yeah.
Owen Hunt's a bitch.
But I like his acting.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah, but that's a podcast that we get rid of Seth and we bring Tori and Kinsey on.
I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
this is a case of like I didn't know the name.
He's also
but I
in.
recognize the person.
Yeah, he's also in Brave. He's Lord
What?
MacGuffin.
Ooh.
He's Lord MacGuffin.
Ah,
He's the one. He's the blonde one with pigtails.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, not one of the main ones, but still. I like him. He's a really good actor, even if, he plays Owen Hunt. But, he can't help what people write for him to play.
Yeah, that's not it's separate the character from the actor, but man.
uh, Jamon Hansu, I'm curious. Some people already have theories that they're going to, because there's that character in the original Highlander that he's friends with that gets killed. Like they introduce him and then he gets killed in the very next scene. It's the one that's like got the boom boom Castigear with the where they do the flashback to the
Oh,
last party that Castigear invited him to, and then we
yeah.
get the funniest scene in the first movie, and then. But yeah, some people are thinking he might be Castigear, and they might try to make his part a little bit bigger because we're also operating on the fact that modern films are a little bit longer than movies from the 80s. Because the first movie's only an hour and 50 minutes. Really, like an hour 40 if you get rid of credits, right? And so nowadays, most movies are like two and a half. So there is some room to create a little bit more lore wise with some characters, especially if you're planning to franchise and maybe you don't kill off everybody that's introduced yet. Like by the end of the film, maybe some people that died in the original one aren't dead yet.
Mm,
We
yeah.
also have a Seamus played by James McNaughton. I don't know anything about James McNaughton. I did not look into what else he's played. I assume that Seamus will be in the flashbacks, though. Was my assumption. Um, we also have two detectives. One played by Dan Lee, and another played by Charlie McGacken. McGacken. Sorry for killing your name, Charlie. Um, we got D.I. Cox and D.I. Doyle, respectively. So detective inspectors. So I guess they'll be the ones probably running the main investigation. Man, we don't get Moran. We don't get Detective Moran. I loved Moran.
Do you think? Do you
God, some
think
of the
the
cop scenes were so funny in Highlander 1. Let's be
new? Yeah,
honest.
I was about to say. Do you think these are going to be the same level as intense as those?
Are we getting the same level of incompetence is the real question. Because I'm going to make a controversial statement in the podcast since we already have Seth. He likes Highlander too. Um,
Mhm.
my controversial statement is that Highlander is a cab.
Yeah.
I think Highlander 1 starts that premise, and I think the TV show has really leaned more into it.
Um, mm, mm. Okay,
When
cool.
have
I've
when have
already made
the
people mad enough today. I'm not gonna
when
pick
have the
more
cops
fights. I'm gonna
when have the
pick my
cop no no
battles.
no when have the cops been competent in the Highlander franchise?
So do I exclude the one episode?
Where they save him, yeah, that one's not because of the cops' incompetence. That's not because of the cops' competence. That's because of the reporter's competence.
No, I'm talking about the one. It's the "What are you gonna do? Shoot me?"
Oh yeah, but generally they're not right. Like that's kind of the thing I've noticed with Highlander. It's definitely not propaganda. Is
No.
at the very least it's not propaganda. At the most it's ACAB. At the least it's not propaganda. Uh,
To be fair,
okay, yeah.
we're operating in a universe where like people cut off one another's heads and lightning explodes out of them. I think the police can stay uninvolved.
But that's it really for
Also,
casting.
let's not forget that Iraqi demon plot that's gonna happen sooner or later.
Uh,
Yeah, that definitely has created. Yeah, I actually ran into a Reddit story on that recently. We'll talk about that when we get to that episode.
Mhm.
That's that we're talking long into the show by that point. Um, for now, though,
Do we
that's it
have
for
a
casting. Was there anything you wanted to say before we got into the set photos?
yeah, we should have a separate section called "One of Us Guesses a Plot Point" for the reboot.
Oh, we're gonna do that once we get. Yeah, that I think that's something that once we get through these. Yeah, I think we were gonna. I definitely have some heavy guesses about like that we're gonna get based on like Jeremy Irons and the Watcher stuff. I think we're gonna set up a bigger threat, looming threat that's not gonna be solved in the first movie. Um, but let's get into the set photos. Firstly, we get a photo of Henry and Dave standing together in their costumes. I was not expecting fully wigged Dave Batista. I wasn't ready for that.
I'm so
Looks
used
like
to seeing.
he looks like he's dressing like a priest over there.
That was also a thing I thought. I
Cause
was
look at
gonna.
the collar.
It's the collar. Yeah, I think he's disguised. That might be. This might be our shit talking on holy ground scene.
Yeah, maybe.
Unless, yeah, because I'm trying to think why he would be fully bearded at that point. I guess maybe he just fully bearded in his present day. He's fully bearded maybe instead. I don't know. I'm curious to see the difference between modern Kurgan and past Kurgan in this
Yeah,
rendition.
that'll be really interesting.
Uh, we don't have the duster in this photo, but there is a photo with the duster for McLeod. We get the bomber jacket for this one,
Yeah.
which I do like the bomber jacket look on a. I'm gonna assume Connor. On a Connor McLeod, because the Connor McLeod bomber jacket is also just as iconic as the duster, in my opinion. Um, but that's what we get for that first photo. There's not too much really to guess. Really, we can just guess maybe this is the shit talking scene because we see him in how Dave is dressed. It's got to be present day stuff based on Henry's outfit though as well.
Yeah.
The next one is
I
yeah.
I agree. I think Kurgan is shit talking on holy ground and in
It looks
disguise for
like
this one.
it. He's absolutely looking like a fucking
Yeah.
like priest over there.
He's not
The
prepared for
next one is
Catholic
kind
priest
of
or priest.
yeah. The next photos are kind of together. There's two photos of Henry taking a really hard hit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on a motorcycle, and it's I guess a car rams into him, and I'm gonna guess based on the next photo that it's Jeremy Irons' character that was driving it.
Probably. However, it's very funny to imagine nothing says I can't hit you with this fucking truck, McLeod. That's
Just
not against the rule.
yeah, but I'm just thinking of like the Watcher like just tracking down Connor and just being like, "Damn it, I need to talk to you, so I'm gonna hit you with this car to get your attention because I
There's
know
so
I can't
many
kill you."
easier ways.
It also feels like a Jeremy Irons move to do it that way.
Do you think they're going to keep up with the watchers are supposed to watch, not interfere thing, or is that shit just going to get broken
Oh,
immediately?
that
It's got
shit's gonna get broken. It's gotta, right?
so it's okay because we don't have a name for Jeremy Irons' character.
Mhm.
Is he our Joe? Is he gonna be Joe?
I don't know.
He might be.
Are they just gonna skip Joe not being the leader and just make him the leader of the Watchers off the bat? Because like for most of the show, he's not the leader of the Watchers, though he's kind of viewed as second in command, but he's never really in charge. Not till certain events happen in the show.
Hmm.
Um, I
Do
could
you think?
see I could see it being their version of Joe, but I could also just see a new character. You were gonna say Seth, sorry.
Do you think the Watchers, I forget, do you think they have like an internal name for when that happened, when Joe got promoted, basically?
I don't know, man. Well, there's a name for what happened, but I don't want to spoil the show for our audience yet.
The Watcher Reformation.
um, but yeah, I could see him going either way. So yeah, next photo is him on the bike still, and then we get the very first photo that was officially released. Um, and this is one that pretty much anybody who follows Henry Cavill on Instagram has already seen, and that's the one with him in the church in the
Yeah.
cathedral. Um,
Big as fuck.
which I do appreciate, which means yeah, we're absolutely getting like I think this is double confirming we're getting our shit talking on holy ground scene.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, will the Kurgans say he did as bad of a thing as he did in the original?
Mm.
Double down. Make Kurgan a scumbag.
True. I'm just wondering if they're brave enough.
It's
They
yeah,
fucking better be.
it's 2026. It's a little, and it's probably coming out in 2027. It's a little harder to say that you did that thing. But then again, if you want to make your villain evil, that's a way to go. That's how you make them evil. Uh, the next scene that we get is the other official picture we got from Henry, which was him in the Buddhist temple with the duster. We got the duster.
That looks slick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably going to be connected to one of the actors that I didn't mention. Like, 'cause I think, hold on, that's probably going to be connected to probably Jin Zhang, who's an actor I didn't mention that was in the IMDb listing, because a lot of the fans are already trying to figure out who he is in the subreddits.
Can you spell that name for me, Caleb?
Jin Shang, it's Jin Zhang, Jin Shang.
Let me see. Where?
Right now, there's no like, hey, he's playing. There's no hey, he's playing this character yet, but he was in Ip Man 3. He was in Pacific Rim 2.
That would explain why I've heard that name before.
Yeah, he played Marshall Quan in
Okay.
Pacific Rim 2. Um,
He
so
also,
you know,
uh,
he's also a
he's also in
stunt
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
yeah, for the stunts. He was a stunt man for that. Yeah. A lot of people are thinking he'll play, and this ties into something I talked about earlier in the episode. A lot of people are thinking he'll play Donnie Yen's character from Highlander 4. Since Donnie Yen's in Highlander 4, y'all have not watched Highlander 4 with me yet, so
Nope.
but he plays a character in that, and so they're thinking maybe they're trying to set up that character sooner in the franchise. Since once again, I think we're gonna meet immortals that don't die in the movie. I think we're gonna that way we can have some uh, long-term characters for further in the franchise. Um, so that I do also like that we're getting. So I almost was like, oh, this could be one of the flashback things, but then he's got the duster, so it's not it can't be a flashback scene unless it's like a year ago. um, but it would be nice to see Connor whichever McLeod he is. It would be nice to see McLeod in like other sort of religious temples besides a regular church, right? Because we know that he appreciates other religions because of how Highlander operates on their rules. Next up, we get this one is a leak. We're gonna get more into the leaked photos again. We get a close up of Dave in the full Kurgan gear, which is really where the wig and the beard threw me off the most. Like
It is a
seeing it,
little weird to see a man that I've seen like 90% bald for most of my life.
Just completely covered.
Um, but I'm also not against like the look. Also, we're looking at this on a grain, like this is a grainy
Mm-hmm.
image, so
Mhm.
because set leaks. Um, so obviously it's not the same as like seeing it proper. Um, what else we get? We got oh, this one's a nice picture with Henry up close. So that one's not too bad. It's less grainy, a little bit more. This looks like honestly, he almost looks like after the fight in the first, like the final fight in the first movie, with the soot all over his face.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I like the bomber jacket look in this photo, and we kind of get a better look at it than we've gotten in the other set photos. And then
Yeah, it's clean too.
like everybody started on the subreddit was talking about, oh, look at the symbol on the armband, and for a minute there, some people were like, oh, is that is that the new Watcher logo? Because like we have the original one, but it doesn't look anything like the original one. And then people
Mm-mm.
are like, oh, but it kind of looks like, funny enough, like the Legendary Pictures logo. But Legendary's not making, like they have no involvement in this film, from what I understand. And finally, they came to the correct solution, which is, oh, this is just a Celtic knot.
I mean, that makes more sense.
Considering Highlander, yes. um, so eventually, they got to the right solution. Um, And it's just like, yeah, the question is, why does he have that on a pretty modern looking bomber jacket? Because like we know that probably we'll get a World War II flashback, because that's usually key to Connor if they're going the Connor route. Unless they decide to cut that, because we don't have anybody that's Rachel. Actually, hold on, we don't have a Rachel, do we? Yeah, I don't see anybody that could feasibly be Rachel in the current like main cast. Like the other two women that are left in the cast are a little bit young to play Rachel. Unless they decide to make her younger for this one. Create a little bit more tension between her and Brenda. But then World War II wouldn't be feasible for that flashback. Also, the next picture is another good look at the Celtic knot.
Hmm.
And then the last image we get is kind of a look at, it looks like one of the fight scenes with them with Dave holding a broken like a version of the Kurgan sword, and with him and Henry on wires.
Yeah.
Um,
Those are cop cars.
yeah, on top of cop cars. Yeah, so they're gonna fight on top of cop cars. That'll be great. I
That's
just I just imagine the cops chasing them and they're fighting on top of cop cars.
I mean, like, that's a shit, man. If you're gonna kill an immortal, why not?
But the reason that sword's broken though is that's a safety one. So they do obviously have one that's the full look, but that one's a safety one because you
Please
can
tell
see.
me. Please
Yeah.
tell me it does the dumb click together thing.
Which also I don't know how that sword can be used in combat when it clicks together like that in the original. That's a conversation when we get to the movie. That's when we get to the
Yep.
first movie. Anyways, that's it for set photos, I think, so far, right? Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
last one we got so far.
Yeah.
Um, so far, there's not a lot I can really, from the set photos, I can really be like, this is going to happen in the film.
We only know we are for sure getting some kind of holy ground shit talk.
Yeah, we're definitely getting that. I'm excited to see what Jeremy Irons and his Watcher stuff is going to be. And like, because since that's a completely new original ground, like That's the stuff I'm more interested in. Is like where are they going to go with the new ideas they're going to implement? Because like if you just wanted to do a shot for shot remake of Highlander 1, that's going to be meh to me, right? Or even if it's just a plot
Mhm.
by plot, right? Because
Yeah.
I think like I think one of the things that the original film has a hard time doing with getting people into the franchise as a whole is it I don't think it's just I think it's just not aged well for an 80 like in terms of like for a modern audience.
Mm.
I think it's still a good movie. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good movie. But I think what people like whenever I show it to somebody that's like you or Brit's age or even younger, they're not gonna appreciate it the same way, right? It's
Probably
a
not.
it's a little different. Um, because like I've shown it to let's see, I've shown it to you.
Hmm.
I've shown it to pretty much everybody in our friend group at South back in the day. I've shown it to Pixie, who also was kind of like, it's good, but I don't know if it's for me. And then that's also kind of where Brit was originally.
It's not the easiest sell.
No, and I think part of it is just pacing
Hmm.
because it has the pacing of a film from the 1980s. I think there's also some scenes that they could have like they could have changed and cut back then. Like I don't know if the wrestling arena as the start of the movie is really like the go like what you start your movie about sword like fantasy sword and sorcery about. You don't start it in a wrestling
Yeah.
arena, I don't think.
You, yeah, you could drop that and just have it start in the parking lot.
Because like, how does Connor watching wrestling relate to him? See, like thinking of flashbacks from back when he was with his clan.
I don't know, man. He fucking sells antiques. That's the only. Some maybe he's just happy that people don't have to die in that fight. Because every other one he's in, someone has to die.
Yeah. Um. I mean, what kind of changes are you both kind of looking for? Because y'all are both newer than me, right? So like, it's a little harder for me to be like to be objective about this, like in terms of that, because like I like the first movie a lot, so it's a little harder for me to be like, if I'm being honest, objective about it. So I kind of want you to, since I know y'all have less connect, like I guess Seth has a little bit of family deep connections to it, but it's like in terms of him personally, it's not
I want to
as.
see demons explode every time a quickening happens.
My goodness.
I want that as an established thing.
I think that was specifically because it was the last quickening,
Probably, actually.
and now it's been retconned to being because it was a dark quickening, but that's a discussion for when we get there.
But, hmm, trying to think. Uh, how I I think the easiest way, like, because one of the things that is brought up in this show is that like immortals can be recorded, right?
Hmm.
And I guess because this is presumably a modern-ish film,
Yeah, I
right?
assume it's like in the 2020s.
Uh, how are immortals gonna stay a secret, if at all? Or B, is this just gonna be like a known thing? Because if it is, that presents a very different problem.
I think I have an answer for that, and that would be that would probably be like I think they, if anything, that would be where the Watcher storyline kind of connects, right? Because
Mm.
the Watchers are already the ones that are usually documenting immortals. So the TV show kind of goes over the idea of what happens when you start filming immortals. they're kind of against it in the show. But I wonder if a modern take on that would be that that's how they document in the modern day, or if they still stick to just writing, like keeping them
Now I think like
in logs.
now the alternative is like quickenings just don't work well on recording.
Kind of a Slender Man thing.
Yeah.
Something or other.
So that's kind of what you're
Well,
hoping they'll dive into in the movie.
I want answers.
Okay. What are you hoping they'll dive into, Brit? Like, what changes are you
I
kind of?
you know, I don't really know. I feel like I don't remember enough about the first one to have any expectations for this one.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna leave it as its own thing for now.
Okay. Well, I think then we have probably, for the most part, talked about this movie as much as we can without it even being out.
Mhm.
Uh, don't worry though, I do have plans for a segment on the show. Also, we are kind of running over time for what we were originally planning for this. So, with that, I think that will be the end of our first episode for this show ever. Uh, Next episode, we will be doing a book episode, uh, where we will be talking about the novel White Silence, which will be a Duncan MacLeod story. Uh, I also plan to, in future episodes, if we do happen to get more news about this movie as it's happening, since we are going to be making episodes while the movie's in production, and, with the movie also probably going to drop a trailer probably near the end of this year or early next year, would be my guess. I will have a segment that we'll call The Watchers, so that way we can use that as our moment to report whenever new stuff is going on.
Nice.
Okay.
That will also be, a good way to, like, because once again, if the first movie does well, we'll just end up having a Watcher segment going forward for stuff beyond the remake, because, at that point it will be a reboot, and then we'll be talking about any shows or other movies they decide that they're gonna work on. Um, but with that, I've been your host, Caleb.
I've been Brit.
This has been Seth.
And we'll be back next time to talk about the novel White Silence. Remember, there can be only one.
There can